This year is a short 60-day session. What are your expectations with the budget and the session?
Well, first of all, I expect that we're going to get out of session on time. That didn't happen last year. We went for 176 days in 2015. I think there's pretty much an agreement across the aisle, across the rotunda, House and Senate, to get done on time this year. And the realities of the division between Republicans and Democrats means that you've got 147 members in the legislature, 74 of whom are Republicans, 73 are Democrats. And so to get anything done, you have to work across the aisle. You have to talk with people of the opposite party. I think that actually makes our process work better, but it also means that big controversial things probably aren't going to get through. There will be some compromises around a handful of minor controversies. We'll pass a small supplemental budget, small supplemental capital budget, and we'll get out of town by the middle of March.
The legislature is looking to address the state Supreme Court ruling on charter schools. Explain.
Well, the state Supreme Court made a ruling that overturned the Citizens Initiative that was passed in 2012 to allow charter schools in Washington State. I think that initiative was a responsible one. It was limited. It allowed some nonprofit charter schools to start outside of the control of school boards for the most part. And the Supreme Court took issue with that. And I think by implication, I think there are some real issues that could arise with not only charter schools, but also with skills centers, with tribal schools, with other kinds of schools, schools for the deaf and schools for the blind, that are conducted outside of typical common school boards. There is a fix that we can do within the legislature to make sure that the definition of common schools does not conflict with our understanding of charter schools. I am confident that we can make that fix. I believe that the votes are there. I believe that there's bipartisan support to do so, and I hope that we'll make that fix because there are thousands of families across this state who depend on charter schools, who've come to love them. I've seen the enthusiasm of charter school students in Tacoma for the learning that they're experiencing, and I hope we can keep that going in this state.
You've introduced some higher education legislation this session. What are some of the bills you will be working on?
We've got a pretty comprehensive agenda that we've been working on for the last few years in higher education. I think the most notable thing that's happened recently was that we reduced tuition for our college students and across the board at public institutions in this state, which is historic. I mean, when we look back on the 2015 budget, there are a number of things that happened in that budget that I think are admirable, but the tuition reduction is something that we'll look at as historic. And we need to fund that tuition reduction. I think the first thing in the supplemental budget that we need to do is make sure that we, maintain what I think was a commitment we made to backfill to the institutions to make sure that they don't have to make budget cuts as a result of the tuition reductions that we made. We also need to make sure that we're making progress toward filling the gap in financial aid in our state. There's some interesting proposals on the table as well about community colleges and making them more affordable and accessible for Washington students. And we need to boost our community colleges. They benefit communities across the state. They're democratic, open to all Washingtonians coming to participate, whether it's coming right out of high school, whether it's learning a skill in the middle of your career. There are a variety of benefits for community colleges, and we need to build them and promote them. They're doing a good job for Washington. We also need to make some reforms. We need to cut some costs, make sure that we're being responsible for taxpayers and tuition payers, and not allowing cost drivers to result in further tuition increases in the future. So we've got a package of reform of efficiencies that I'm prime sponsoring. Also working on legislation to create a performance funding system. We need to make sure that we're creating incentives for institutions to do things like increase degree completion, increase high demand degree completion in the STEM fields, science, technology, engineering, and math, that our economy so much demands. So those are some of the things we're working on this session and we'll continue to work on in the coming years.